gem of the Caribbean Sea. Come back to my island, Barbados. Come back to my island and me. Please come back where the night winds are blowing. Please come back to the surf and the sea. You'll find rest, you'll find peace in Barbados. Come back to
Good evening, everyone. This is just a brief announcement that we are going to be actually commencing the evening in another 15 minutes at 5:45, okay? Just 15-minute delay, just a little bit. There's still quite a lot that is being put together and that we are planning for this evening. So we'll begin in about 15 minutes time. So relax, it's Sunday evening, enjoy the music and the beautiful, what ocean this is? This would be Atlantic? Yeah. Enjoy the sea. Well, good evening again to everyone. I just want to ask those of you that are seated back there, just come on forward. These seats are not reserved for anybody up here. Just fill them up. You know, sometimes I know you try to follow biblical prerequisites and sit back so nobody moves you back and you don't want to come forward. But come on forward. Come on, fill up all these seats here. I don't like talking to chairs, even though as a little boy I used to do that in my mother's living room. But I want you to come forward. Just fill up all the chairs. No reserved seats here for anybody in this platform, in this forum tonight. All right, now in a few moments we're going to have our national anthem. As you know, in our national anthem is enshrined the aspect of the Lord being the people's guide, and so in every event we try to begin with a word of prayer, and I'm going to ask you to stand for that we can say a word of prayer. Remain standing. Immediately afterwards we will have the national anthem of the beautiful country of Barbados. So Father, this evening we just want to commit this session to you. We thank you that you have been the people's guide. You continue to be their guide. You will ever continue to be their guide. Your word declares the earth is yours, the fullness thereof, the people and all that dwell therein. Lord, your mind is upon the governance of your people, for you said when the righteous rule, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, they groan. And so, Lord, tonight we just look to you. You are our guide. You are our provider. You are the one that as a nation we have always held as the number one perspective of our lives. You have blessed this nation. You have surrounded us with beautiful waters, wonderful beaches, great island, great landscape, Father. And we thank you most importantly for the people. We thank you for the people you have brought into this nation, regardless of how they have come, by birth or by transport. Lord, we thank you for how you have established this country upon the waters. And so this evening we acknowledge you as we commence this local parliament, this roadside parliament of the local opposition, the loyal opposition, and the Marcia Week show. As we present it this evening, we put it in your hands. And we're grateful, thankful, knowing you are able to keep that which we commit unto you against that day. So we thank you this evening, Father, and everyone said, Amen. Remain standing, please, for the playing of the national anthem.
From
Yes, firm craftsmen of our faith. Good evening and welcome to all of you. It's such a pleasure for me to be given the honor to MC this event this evening. Of course, I think by now all of you should know who I am. If you don't, well, too bad. Well, I am I don't know if it's the indomitable or what word I would use, but I am His Excellency Reverend Dr. Ferdinand Nichols. And it's a pleasure for me to be here with you this evening. I think the chairman of the Joint Select Committee wanted to know where I got my designation from. And I had to respond to him. You remember, if you viewed the presentation I made to the Joint Select Committee, when he asked me, he said, I've known you for years, and my aunt was his godmother. All right, so it's a strong family relationship that goes back, but in my view, my country is greater and more important than just simply my family. And so I had to respond to him, and I indicated to him that in 2018, the Academy of Universal Global Peace USA, a United Nations designated organization, made contact with me, requested I would be their governor, international governor to Barbados. I accepted that position, and as a result of that, the official designation I carry from them is His Excellency. So just so you know, but for those of us here in the official opposition, even though I know you respect the terminology of Reverend, I'm Ferdy. All right? You can come up to me and you can go Ferdy this or Ferdy that or Ferdinand this, that's fine, not a problem. But it's great to have you here this evening, and we want to be very positive, we want to be very uplifting this evening. Now, this is, I think, the third or the fourth Roadside Parliament that we have had, and we have had great success. I've learned a long time ago not to pay attention to the numbers of people that are before me, because they don't necessarily reflect the total capability of those who are with you. And as far as I know, an iceberg only shows 1/10 of its capability above the water, but the other 9/10 is below the water. Amen? And I believe the captain of the Titanic would have been happy if he was aware of the fact that there was a lot more iceberg below than what he saw. So I want to issue a stern and intense warning to the administrative grouping of this country. Don't mind the small numbers you see. Those that are for us are more than are against us. Remember, you are our employees and we are your employers. It is time the people of Barbados understand who carries the power in this country. The people who carry the power in this country are sitting in front of me, the citizens of this nation. They are the most powerful group in this country. And so this evening, we are looking forward not only to hearing from our special speakers, but we are also looking forward to hearing from you. And so again, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me also say this evening, you know, I had to smile at some things that I read and some things I follow. But when somebody is going to look at me and tell me that an event like this and a march is a threat to democracy and an act of tyranny and something else, you really have either lost your mind, or in our assessment from a theological position, you may be demon-possessed, because clearly you are not thinking with your natural, normal faculties. And so the reason we are out here is because democracy prevails in Barbados. Come on, talk to me this evening. In 2018, a statement was made by a particular individual vying for leadership in this country, in which that individual said that given the opportunity to govern this country, she would make a solemn promise that she would not do what she observed was happening at the time of the 2018 general election. My view is that when you violate that solemn promise, you no longer have the moral authority to lead this country, and violate that promise you did. As it stands today, it seems that we have a government that is more representative of the international community than there are of the people of this country. When we voted in 2022, in spite of the fact that some 15,000 people were denied access to voting, and let me stop long enough to make this comment to you tonight. A few months before the 22 election in Barbados, the country of the Bahamas held a general election. And the Prime Minister of the Bahamas made provision for every single person who was quarantined to vote in that election. Come to Barbados. And no provision was made for some 15,000 people who, under the guise of a so-called pandemic that I will not even touch tonight, could not vote. That is a serious matter when one considers that in some constituencies in this country, the difference between who represents us could be as little as 1 vote, or 2 votes, or 26 votes, or even 130 votes. So we genuinely do not know if the government we have today is a legitimate government based on the denial of the people of Barbados having their constitutional right denied them to vote in 2022. That is a fact. That is not conspiracy theory. That is a fact. And so let's understand that today we want to be able, in addressing a number of the issues, and you as a people have a right to ask any administration to give an explanation as to why it is governing this country in the manner that it is. And let me give you an example. When I go to buy a house, an ordinary mortgage, and I'm sure there are financial gurus in our midst, you have a contract, is that not right? You get a contract, and you have to read the terms and conditions of the contract before you sign it. As a matter of fact, many of us have these devices, and we go and take them out, take arrangements with the providers, and we don't even read the contract that we have, terms and conditions. We are in, I don't know, Caswell, how much debt we in? 7-point-something billion US dollars debt, 7.8 billion is it, and growing every blessed day. Every day we turn around, we hear of another loan. And listen to me, I've been in this business long enough to tell you grants don't come without conditions. Grants come with conditions, and the reason I can tell you that is because on 3 to 4 occasions I have approached the Barbados government with grant funding from philanthropic organizations to assist the economy of this country. You will not hear anybody say about that, but you will hear it for the first time coming from the horse's mouth. I have done that, and in every email I have the evidence. I can show it to you. As a matter of fact, I am holding right now an email for funding from Saudi Arabia, and I'm not going to say anything further than that. So I know what I'm talking about. They come in terms and conditions. Does anybody know the terms and conditions for the funding for the Barbados International Airport? Anybody here can stand up and tell me what is going to happen when you're dead and gone, and your grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to have to deal with a debt that they were not even involved in being a part of? These are serious questions that a government must answer. It's not a matter of an option. We are the people who employ you, and you owe it to the people that employ you to tell us what are the terms and conditions of the debts that we are consistently being placed in as a country. Simply come back to the island, have a press conference, and tell us the terms. That is what you call transparency. It is what you call accountability. But these seem to be 2 words that are foreign to the current administration, in spite of all the talk. You know, I've learned from a political standpoint that politicians talk a lot. And they say what they think you want to hear. But they never tell you the truth. We need the truth. What's happening at the Bridgetown port? A certain country that provided funding for Nigeria now owns the Nigerian port. The certain country that provided funding for Uganda's airport now runs Uganda's airport. And another certain country that provided funding for Jamaica And their port now ran their port. What's happening at the Bridgetown port? What's happening at the airport? Those are questions that if you want to be a responsible government, we are happy to have you join us here at Edison Bats Rock. This Hastings, right? Right, Hastings Rocks. Let me get my geography right, because you see how you confuse me for the evening? I don't know what side of the island I'm on. I tell a person this evening that Barbados is divided between the Atlantic and the Caribbean, to tell me no, it's in the Atlantic. I don't know. Whatever this is in the ocean, is the sea. Don't go up there. But that's the point I want to make. Join us here. If you have any intestinal fortitude and you have the will to be honest with the people, drive down here this evening and join us at Hastings. I challenge you. Huh? You all look out for the cars arriving. And when they arrive, just let me know. You lost your song? Alright, they'll fix it. Don't worry about it. I got a big mouth anyhow. Alright? I'm supposed to be evangelical minister who's supposed to got big mouths. I got a big mouth. So you will be hearing me through the evening. Well, I'm sure you're interested in hearing the persons that will be addressing us this evening. But the first person I want to call on to address us is someone who really doesn't like to be in the limelight. I don't know how in the name of God Almighty she expects to be who she is and not be in the limelight. And I know you know exactly who I'm speaking about. That's right. You know exactly who I'm speaking about. And so without any further ado, I want to invite Mrs. Marcia Weeks to come and officially welcome you to this evening's proceedings.
Good evening, Barbados. Good evening, Barbados. If I were in church, I would say, by faith. You know, there's a song that says that we've come this far by faith. This is our third venue. You understand that? We've been fighting to have this event. And we're happy to be here, aren't we? Yes. I see the Barbados flag flying there. Raise that flag. Raise the flags. I actually have my flag under here. I got my flag. People, we are here this evening, and I want to say to us, as Dr. Ferdinand said, let's stay positive. Let's stay positive. I know, you know, there's a lot going on WhatsApp, right? There's a lot that is happening all over, and people are getting worried, and we're staying focused. We're here this evening because we came together as a community. You know, when we got here this evening, people came and they were helping us. And we are all here because we don't have any main sponsor. You understand that? We don't have a main sponsor. The sponsor is us. It's the people. We don't have any corporate sponsor. We don't have any government entity. It's the people of Barbados that they are paying for this. And for us to come together. And tonight I'm hoping that we will not just hear from the panelists, but that we will hear from you. We want to hear what you are thinking. What are your proposals? What are your ideas? How do you see Barbados? Where do you see Barbados in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? So think about that. So don't think that tonight will just be, if this is your first roadside parliament, you might not know. But it's not just about the people who are going to take this microphone. It's about you. Okay? So tonight you're all out and you're looking so beautiful. You're looking so beautiful. And we have people here from all over Barbados, right? Anybody from St. Lucie? Anybody came up from St. Lucie? What? From St. Lucie. I just said, you know, let me try St. Lucie. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Dr. Ferdinand, and he'll do the roll call. But thank you all so much for coming out this evening.
All is good?
Oh, and we did welcome, oh my goodness, we have over 310 persons watching online. And come on, can you give them a round of applause? And they're saying hello, hello. I'm seeing Kali B, and you know I like to call out the names. Let me call out my people. Lyric Lewis, Owen Hines, Tyron Blackman is watching. Listen, those of you who can come down, you know, you should really come down, okay? And we are here, we're seeing Flo Joe is here, Marlene Marshall, Andrea Moore. Oh my goodness, they're all here. All right, so over to Dr. Ferdinand.
I tell you, what a joy. My goodness, what a joy to have all of you joining us on the loyal opposition. Wow, 310 people. And I agree with Marcia, if you're viewing this and you're in the country, you need to be down here. So try and get down here. I want to endorse what Marcia has said, because this is about you. This is about the people of Barbados. This is about the citizens of this country. This is about all ages, all colors, all creeds, all classes. This is not about some high class and low class. That's not how we function as a country. We are broad across the base. We interact with one another. I went to Harrison College with hoity-toities and ordinary people. And I know a certain gentleman that he chose to go to Combamere. I don't know, he probably couldn't. Anyhow, we can just leave that for now, because then he might want to come at me when he comes up here in a moment to speak. But this is about the people of this country. Amen? This is about the people of Barbados. And that's what politics ought to be about. Politics is not about the Barbados Labour Party. You were not elected to represent the Barbados Labour Party. You were elected to represent the people of Barbados. It's not about the Democratic Labour Party. It's not about the APP or the UPP or any other team. Tell you, I don't know how in the name of peace I get into these things, you know. You all know which P I mean though, right? Okay, fine, good. I just want to be sure so that you don't consider the religious leader to be one trending on certain subjects. That is not true, all right? So anyhow, it's about the country of Barbados. It's about you, it's about your children, it's about your grandchildren, it's about our future. Amen? And so this evening, to kick us off, to start the ball rolling, we're going to have a young gentleman join me on the platform. I'm sure that when I call his name, he will be flattered to hear me call him young. But I will have to call him young because I think when compared to Adam, he's a young man. Because the last I checked, Adam was 120-something years old. And this fella is just about half of that. So I want you to put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome Mr. Caswell Franklin, the General of the Marcia Week Show.
Good evening, everybody. You see, I ran up there. All right, young man, what am I eat? I came here this evening with a heavy heart. I want to talk to you, each and every one of you. You know, I want you to see how you regard yourselves. What you think about yourselves. And then when you think about yourselves, ask what your children think about you. One of my proudest days, it wasn't when I got to become married, that wasn't the proudest day of my life. I wasn't getting into the Senate. It happened while I was in the Senate. My son, my first son, I have two boys, called me from New York one day and he said, just after a day they said it, and I spoken about something, and I must have like stepped over the line a couple of times. And unfortunately, I didn't see where the line was. And he called and he said that I am so proud of you. You couldn't find blood in me. I felt so good. Because, you know, that's why I want to be proud of me. I want my children to be proud of me. I am not going to let them in the riches for sure. I am not. So all I like to do is leave for them a legacy of honesty, truth. And I spoke a lot of it that day. And my son said, mind you, he's a millionaire, so I don't have to worry about him. He tried to give me money too, like, not like how Mayor did. He didn't try to quack me with the money. he said one of the times when I got fired, he called me and he sent me a credit card and he said, Dad, there's a debit card. And he sent his debit card for me to make us use that card, spend $40,000. I felt good. I didn't spend a cent on it yet. The thing is, I don't think that was a bribe to keep me quiet. But those are the people, my children, that I want to be proud of me. And ask yourselves, if your children are proud of you for the stances that you take, for the things that you do, when you sit down and allow this government to mistreat you, because that's what they do. They mistreat you. They treat you very badly. And your children will be saying, my daddy tell him that. You know, because the children are very judgmental. The children see black and white. Well, not only children, because I've got to be a child myself, because they see black and white too. The thing is, but they mostly see black and white. Not a lot of gray. Is either right or wrong for the young people. And when they see you behave in the manner that you're behaving, ask yourselves, are my children proud of me? Did you stand up to me monthly when she changed the water rates and put a tax on water? We had people in Barbados paying $32 for water. And the reason why they were paying $32 is because the water authority did not charge less than $32. Did they use enough water? And they put a $45 tax on $32 bill. Not fair. But what did you do? You went paid. Those of you who had government paper, you go and buy bonds and say, well, I can put it down, when I get old, let me get a little income from it. She canceled that arrangement and decided that she is going to give back some of the money that you put down. I remember one lady calling me and she said, Mr. Franklin, I put down to my gratuity, but in return for the public service, because I want to make sure that I got some money to take care of me in my old age. And now, what these people do to me, I can get back my money when they reach 117. They just took all of that. You take it and hope that she will go away. But she ain't going away because you are enabling her. You are allowing her to treat us badly. And I think she's trying to push Barbados to see how far we can go. Or when we can stop. You know, because everybody's saying, you know, about this place going to erupt. When did it erupting? And when it erupt, then she take it to the East Coast and get some food, and think and jump again, fat, and that's the end of the matter, and you're happy again. Back to your problems. Back to the problems that are homegrown. Back to the problems that you can't pay your bills. Right now you can't pay the water bill, you can't pay the light bill, you can't pay the tax. And let me talk about the tax a little bit. Any of you here who own land know that you should get a tax bill in November and you will pay by the 10th of December in order to get the discount. All of a sudden may get 6 months here. So now you are paying tax twice in 18 months. What do you do about it? You can only work by bat and pair, by bar and pair. Don't stand up for yourselves. It's about time you say to these people, look, I ain't doing that, I ain't taking that, and I paid it. I don't know why I know why they are not paying it. The government broke. Every cent that they borrow, they give away to their friends and family. You look and see what's happening. Right? I used to work over there in the Attorney General's chambers was in Marine House. Now the Pushka Marine House we have Palm Marine. But you know, my heart hurts when I see Caribbean gone because that is my favorite spot is to get lunch and I'll the girls and I can't get lunch there, I'm gonna push it down. So I used to work in the Attorney General's office. And in the Attorney General's office, we had a person called the Solicitor General. The Solicitor General is the person who defends the government in court in civil matters. That's their paid job. They're paid at the highest rate for a civil servant in the public service, at what they call S1, permanent secretary scale. Now you got a whole bunch of lawyers in the public service that don't get no work. You want to know why? May I call them again to shoot friends. And these people are getting paid for doing nothing. But her friends getting all the government work. And then better than the lawyers that they're replacing in the government service, because I know when I was there, those young lawyers used to beat even her father. Alright? So I think that the beat about quality lawyers, it is that she got friends that she got to put in her pocket. One of the main lawyers for the government was the man who just got appointed Chief Justice. Every time the government in court, he was the government's lawyer. Let the man go then. I remember when they had the airport pay cut case, Morris King went to court himself as Attorney General and fought it. Now I wouldn't risk my case in front of this Attorney General, trust me. So, because I know he would lose. But, so I can understand he not want to go to court. But he got a staff. A lot of people up there. But she's giving the jobs to them. You have permanent secretaries, heads of departments. And what she does, she brings consultants. But that's not good enough. She don't start making permanent secretaries temporary officers. A temporary permanent secretary. You know, just listen to that and see how stupid it sounds. You are a temporary permanent secretary. No, just let it sink in. But you want a way to keep permanent secretaries temporary? Permanent secretaries are supposed to advise the government and tell the ministers where they go wrong and to stop them from doing crap. But now if you're a spoiled child, never get a backside cut, and then you need it by now. You used to be told, oh sweetheart, we can give it to you, huh? Don't cry. So when you don't get your bench, you stamp up 2 foot, and all of a sudden, mommy come and get you a kiss, and daddy come home and get you what you want. And this is how Barbara's is being run. So she couldn't get the permanent secretaries to comply, so she made them temporary. So and then she put them on contract. 3 years. So your contract coming up, the Prime Minister doing crap. You think you will tell the Prime Minister, that's wrong, and you got a contract coming up. No, and people are not speaking about these things. People are not speaking about these things. Comptroller of Customs temporary. Chief Education Officer temporary. You know, the Chief Agricultural Officer temporary. All the people, and she wanted to make the headmasters temporary, and the principals, we call them these days, temporary. But BUT, thank God, the only other union besides Unity that stands up. I kid you not. All the rest roll over and play them with my little snore to get the tummy rub. They don't, those who don't know who snores was my dog. They get their tummies rubbed and government just rubbing the tummies and giving a little, and they're getting a little bright here and there, a little duty-free car here, and a little duty-free car there. And they even call me and ask me when they can come and get mine. My duty-free car. I park a little Suzuki Swift up there. That's what I can afford. And that's where we can drive. BMW, if I had a BMW, they get me down here. That's the Suzuki Swift get me down here too, you know. So I don't have to have one of those. And that's what she's doing with her money, bribing people all over the place. Right now, Milwaukee has more consultants in the public service than Errol Barrow, Tom Adams, Bree St. John, David Thompson, Sandiford, David Thompson, Francis Short, Owen Arthur. Combined. She has more consultants right now than they had in all the years combined. That has to say something. It says one, that she incompetent, so she gotta get a lot of people, or she do the work, or she bribing a lot of people, or she taking care of her friends, or all of those. Because only last month, a circular came around to say that all these consultants will now get 20% of their gratuity, of their salary as gratuity, dating back to July 24, 2020. 20, 21, 22, 23. And come July 24, 5 years. You're going to give them 20% for 5 years, a year's salary free for doing absolutely nothing. But at the same time, you give, that's 20%, and then you give civil servants 3%. And you inquire about it, those of you who are civil servants, you inquire, that's what I'm asking you. Me am on this gang. That is what I'm asking you. Do you think your children will be proud of you if they see you sitting down and taking all these things? They will think daddy and mommy foolish. Let your children see that you got some guts. Well, they got a lot, look. Alright, but I ain't talking about this type. I talk about, you know, strength of character. Something that you want to pass on to your children. Because let me tell you something. When you are soft and wussy, that's the children you're going to raise. Right now you hear people talking about, oh, I can't remember, I got a mortgage. You know about got a mortgage? And it can't stop everybody. Let me do something. Let me give an example. I always like to use this. Sometimes people think I know about industrial relations, right? So they call me and ask me to do a class or do a speech or something to people. But I don't know what to do, so I go a little box of matches. I take out one match and I give it to the first fellow in the front of the room and I say, break that. And everybody look at me, lead it, because I just ask the fellow to break a match. And then I do again, I say, I need two. I say, break them. And I break them. And I look, wondering what's happening. Right? And then I take out a handful. I give them, I say, hold them together and break them. And he just trying to get a whole box of matches broken. I said, that is your first lesson in industrial relations. When you are together, they can't break you. They can't break you. When you stand up together, mere mortally or no force on this earth can break you. And I know that they're terrorizing you and they're frightening you and they're doing all these kind of things because she's firmly in control of everything. Remember, she was firmly in control of Dublin before he left the police force and now responsible for integrity and all kind of stuff. But then, they had a case against the police force. The police force had a case against the government, rather, because some of them were not promoted. They went to court. The court said that the last administration did nothing wrong. High Court. Then they appealed to the Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal said the government didn't do anything wrong. So they went to CCJ. And the day before, just before the case was about to start, when the judges looking to say, for appearances, the lawyer for Barbados got up and said, "The Lords, we settling. You settle the case and you win. You want to know why? Because then she take those same people and promote them in the police force, even make one commissioner. So she got the force. She got the force. She got the police force. Think about that. I just thought she got the permanent secretaries and the heads of departments because she knows promoting all of them in contract. She got them. Now she got the police force. But before that, she went to Parliament and carried the age of retirement for the Chief of Staff of the Barbados Defence Force. But Granham was about 55 years old and the retirement age was 55. So they raised the age and still require him to retire at the 55 because that was the retirement age just before the carrot thing. And bring a man older than him. That man though. So you see what's happening? And now she got her I was going to say her father's yard boy, but I'm not going to be unkind. And I'm going to say her father's youngster, when he was a youngster, who trained in father's office and was about his bike. No, he's the Chief Justice. So she got everything wrapped up. Right? So you must, let me warn you, keep away from the courts. You know, Barra said that one time. But it's more serious now because in those days the judges were so close to the mountains. But now we have Commissioner of Police, Chief of Staff of Defence Force, Chief Justice, Permanent Secretaries, Heads of Departments. Mayor Motley has made sure that she's taking care of all of them. And then she went to the unions. I remember the day when they opened Parliament at Lord Erskine Sanford Centre. She approached me and offered me to ride in St. Thomas. I made a joke. I said, I got about naked, barely walk, so I can't run. Please give me a little trouble off the truck. And I made a joke and I went loud. So when she realized that I was not interested because you can't catch me, I want to see. She then went for 20 more. Instead of ousting saying they're foreign and putting in me, then she went oust Glenn Clark and put in 20 more. So she got BW taken up. Now she has NUPW taken up because the president of NUPW is a person who is saying that she is going to run to replace Edmund Hickson. But one nuisance replacing another dog is nothing but so she has the unions. But she don't got to do nothing to get Mary Redmond. She gone already. She went ever since.
Yeah, gone ever since.
I said the only 2 unions now. But she has the 2 side. But then when she start getting the pizza trips overseas, he get vexed now and he calling out. But the boy paying the money because he gone. He was neutralized ever since. You know when you sell your soul, there's no buying it back. You don't get it back. You don't get it back. So she has brought everything under control. And now she's making you. She's making you so weak and frightened. That's what I tell you. Let your children be proud of you. I told when my son told me, Daddy, I'm so proud of you. I felt really good. I felt warm. I felt that fuzzy feeling. You know, they get inside when you. But you know, I can't explain it really. But it felt good. I want you to feel good when your children say that about you. And will they say it about you when you sit down and let them morning, treat you, all kind of things, and even give you job and water to drink, and you can drink it? The children will drink it too, but they're not going to be public because that's all you can provide for them. Speak up, stand up. And you know, for the year she getting nervous and telling me. So I'm coming off now. So I know, thanks for listening to me, and I hope that whatever we said, at least give you food for thought. What I was thinking about the whole day, unless I had a speech for the side, but then I said, no, so let me talk about this. And I decided, look, it's time. Barbadians, rise up. I'm not talking to rise up and riot, but stand up. When they make you pay early taxes, start paying them. Because I can't eat the money. It's yours. It should be theirs yet. 6 months ahead of time. And you said nothing. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, Freddie is going to get a vote if I don't leave, so hope to see you back at the next People's Parliament. And remember, every Sunday, except tonight, of course, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you can see the Marcy Show at 7 o'clock. YouTube, Facebook. Sorry? Alright, so good night everybody, and thank you so much for listening to me.
Come on, let's hear it for Mr. Franklin. Come on. You know, I have to be very careful what I say. Sometimes I can get very liberal with my mouth. But when I see a country's authorities, a country that we have known over the years to be an autocratic, dictatorial country, meeting with our political parties in Barbados, it ought to cause people in Barbados serious concerns. What we are seeing is a playbook of that country where they control all the authoritative positions in the country, and if you step out of line, you pay the price. Barbadians, wake up. It is time you wake up and realize what is happening around you. You can stand up and turn everything around, because that's what people can do when they come together. I remember, I think it was 2018, at this swearing-in ceremony, and I stand to be corrected. Caswell, you can probably correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I think that swearing-in was in Bay Street. Is that right? On Bay Street, down by the Esplanade. And I remember a certain bishop at the time, my bishop at the time, Reverend Jerry Seal, issuing a stern warning to the Barbados Labour Party government that if they did not govern the country properly, that the people will take action. The largest parliament in this country is seated in front of me. I want to repeat that because I do not think you heard me. The largest parliament, the largest number of representatives of a parliament are seated in front of me. This is Barbados government. Notice what I said. This is Barbadian government, and I'll touch on that later on tonight. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to invite you to come up and share your thoughts. I think we should have a wireless mic here. All right. Any of you that have some thoughts, I mean, you've been watching the show, you know what is going on in the country. Any of you that have anything that you wish to say, wish to highlight, wish to point out, this is your opportunity to do that. So it's an open mic at this point in time, and we're inviting you to come. Now, don't be shy and don't all rush up here at the same time. You know, we let you to come one, you know what I'm saying? So come on, this is your opportunity. Don't be worried. We are what? Not a... We are not a... So there shouldn't be a problem for you to come and just share what you believe, what you think. You know, you've heard a lot of stuff shared about the crime bill, the cyber crime bill, the child protection bill. Of course, we've had an education from Mr. Caswell Franklin. Any of you who watch the show, I tell you, one of the most educational periods. Caswell Franklin, Maxine McLean, and Glenn Murray. Three of the most educational programs you can find anywhere in politics in the country. So come on. I'm not going to be up here waiting too long. If you don't volunteer, I'm going to volunteer you. And then, you know, I can... Where's my spotlight? Where's my phone? Who got my phone? I need a spotlight from my phone. You know, so I got that's it? Yeah, good. All right. Let me see here. Y'all think I don't know how to use my phone? I'm going to show you. I just turned all my house lights at home from my phone. So I know what I'm doing. Come on, my friend. You coming to share? All right, come on. Just tell us your first name. Your first name. You don't need to know the baptismal one. Just your first.
Sam.
Sam. All right, Sam. Go ahead.
Sam or Samuel? I go hold my.
Not if I help it.
Yeah, I am what they call a street preacher. Preach all over the street, you know. Somebody may call me an evangelist. I was praying and asking Lord, should I do it? If they call me, if they give me a chance to speak, I will do it. Some of what was said by you heard tonight. I was doing some research on the different kinds of governments, and it comes to fight. The first one is a full democracy. The second one is a fractured democracy, or deficient, something wrong with it. The third one, they call it a regime, a hybrid regime. The fourth one is a moderate autocracy. Moderate. But the last one is a hardcore, terrible autocracy. Now I got to shorten it because he didn't know 3 minutes. The last one, China is in there, in hardcore. The first one, believe it or not, they managed to get Barbados in the first one, which is a good democracy. But for weeks I've been asking, how can you get these two systems of government to marry? It seems that Barbados, and the Bible uses these expressions so I can use it, Barbados has gone a whoring, prostituting itself. And only yesterday or the day before, I saw on Facebook, I didn't hear Ferdinand say this yet, I don't know if you know, but they were celebrating over 40 years of diplomatic relationships with China.
Yep, 40 years.
So it's getting stronger. I will quite worse and worse, but somebody may say better and better. I said that. They didn't hear about what happened in Africa, how China taking over countries in Africa, happening now in Jamaica. They didn't hear about it. And now we're going to sell Barbados. I done.
That's a good warning. That's a good warning, huh? I'm telling you, I know quite a bit about the CCP. When I see the CCP sitting with a political party in this country, I am concerned. Especially when I see the type of legislation being moved in Parliament. And when I see the kind of things being implemented, you need to be concerned. But we're not here to scare you. We're here to tell you that in spite of what you may be seeing, the people who will make the change is the people sitting in front of us. You're the people who will make the change. And when I said yesterday, as I came around that corner at the Lower Broad Street, call the elections if you have the guts, I am not joking. I know for a fact, because of the information that comes to hand to myself, people like Caswell and to Marcia, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Not now. You see, people think because there is a party in disarray that there is no party, but the party is here. Did you hear what I just said? The party is here in front of me, sitting here in front of me. And you will find out how fast the people of Barbados can find 16 candidates. You'll be surprised how fast we can find 16 candidates. Now, let me tell you, I told Marcy this evening, I wait, now you guys, as soon as you already pinched me on the, wherever, but not wherever, but on my arm. Just be sure. Oh God. Anyhow, I've been, yeah. If there's anybody else, if you're moving, I can keep talking. If you want to hear me, I can talk you to death. So try and move fast if you want to live. Don't raise your hand. Come. You want to talk from there? Okay, no, but you want to talk in the dark. But it can come to light. It can come to light. All right?
Hey everybody, my name is Sherry. Good night, everybody. My name is Sharon, and what I will address to everyone, like, God never had no intention for mankind to run people, because God knows that mankind is wicked. So God put up rules and regulations for everyone to follow. So if you're a leader of the world, God have all his rules and regulations and the United Nations. So I don't have a copy of the United Nations Treaty, but that is a copy that every leader of the world should follow. But during Trinity is ruling, everyone is undermining God's word. So God loves you, and God wants you to be present. God gathered the nations in the lead of nations. That's how God gathered the nations. He invisibly gathered the nations. So everyone, human rights is in the lead of nations. And to have a revolution is not war. God is love, God has energy is love. And to have a revolution, you need love. And love is unity. And love is like, God expects everybody to live peaceful, no wars, and live peaceful every generation. But man wants to rule mankind. And for man to rule man, God will have to be invisible. But God loves you all, and he's not invisible. God said, if my people humble themselves and seek my face, they could find God. But God made man in his own image, and mankind decided to make man in his own image. That's why you all today don't see God. Because you made God in his own image. So all our human rights is in the lead of nations. And to start a revolution, make sure that no government in the world is fighting the revolution of God's rules. And that's it. So if you want a peaceful world, a loving world, everyone's duty in the world is to make sure that no one in the world is breaking God's rules. Because God is the highest. He's a righteous king. God is a righteous king. That's who God is. So God writes all these righteous rules in the United Nations. So if you have a good government, your government is fighting, your government is working with God's rules. If you have a corrupt government, your government is working with the wicked people that want to rule you instead of God, and that's all I have to say tonight.
Thank you so very much. We're getting some blessings. Some blessings. Don't get worried, you know, they used to tell me that Barbadians are strange people that run from water, run to fire. But just get yourself on the umbrella. You know, this too shall pass. This hasn't come to stay. This too shall pass. All right, thank you so much, ma'am. Anybody else want to share quickly? Just for 2 minutes. I'm giving you 2 minutes on the mic. 2 minutes on the mic. You want to say something, sir? All right, come on, quick, come.
Good night to everyone. I just want to quickly say and congrats to Miss Marcia Weeks and the Marcia Weeks Show. There's a lot of issues that we need to continue to speak out as the people of Barbados. And as Pastor Ferdinand said, the highest government, the highest order of government is God. And once we stay behind him and we stay and let him follow, lead us, we'll be fine. We got issues with the electoral power, land, how the government is sequestering land from people. Look at what's going on with the drugs and situation. They're linking with the Chinese. So when you hear, you have people like Marcia Weeks, Ferdinand, Caswell, and that brilliant youngster Kemar Stewart, which I think all of us should continue to support. He's doing well. Let's continue to support Marcia Weeks and their efforts as a loyal opposition, so we can continue to get the truth out there and keep this Barbados government, this government that is ruling, but we are under pressure, and they must come to light with all the hidden truths that they are hiding from the people. But we want transparency, and we want them to be legitimate in what they are trying to do.
Thank you so very much. We don't only want transparency and accountability. I'm going to be brutally frank, we want them out. So we're ready to move on to our next speaker. I'm going to call on Miss Lynette Eastman. Miss Lynette Eastman, can you put your hands together to welcome her, please? I know she's out there. I saw her earlier. Let's keep it going until she appears. Let's encourage her onto the stage this evening. Haven't seen her in a little while. Come on up with that lovely smile. Come on, come on, come on. Welcome. Great to have you this evening.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. I'm happy to be here this evening, and I want to thank Dave Weeks and Marcia Weeks for putting this on. And I also want to thank those activists who have been out there nearly every Saturday. People like La Bamba, Bongo Lights. You know, sometimes you don't want to start calling names because you're bound to forget somebody. Winston, all of these people have been out there. I missed one? Kimar. Yes. Kimar has been, even before going on the Marcia Week show, Kimar has been doing his videos, bringing information to the people. I don't know how many he makes, but it looks to me like it could be 2 or 3 per month. And I really, when people do exceptional work, I think we should be exceptionally grateful to them. So please give Kimar all the support he needs, because he is a worker and Barbados needs workers. Barbados doesn't just need talk, because I know a lot of Barbadians vote based on who can talk the best. And you get into Parliament on that alone, without showing that you can do any work. So when people get there and they don't work, why are you surprised? Because they never told you they could do anything other than talk sweet. And they continue to do that. But tonight, I want to talk about corruption. And somehow I suspect that many Barbadians do not quite understand how corruption touches and concerns them. Now, Mr. Knox said a couple of things that resonated with me where corruption is concerned. He talked about the Quakers and he talked about equality. Now, I suspect these days that many Barbadians are not looking for equality. But we have to get back there. That is where we started. Equality was the basis of providing free health care for all people. Equality was the basis of providing free education for all people, so that anybody at all, any of these children here, and I commend the parents for bringing out the children to this event tonight, because they must learn from early. Free education was so that if any of us have that talent, that it could be honed, and then that our services would be used for the better of our country. But you know how corruption steps into the education? You educate Barbadians to the hilt. You give them the best education possible. You give them scholarships to go abroad to study and train more. You provide a student revolving loan fund so that they can borrow money, go overseas, get trained, and then corruption intercepts what our young people should be doing. And some of them are so young now, You have people in their 50s that never got the opportunity to realize their potential because they could never get a contract. So when you hear about contracts going here or there, you might say, well, that's how it goes. So what's the point of you putting billions of dollars into education if these young people still can't get the contracts when they come from school? What's the point? What's the point? But you have to say that the time has come that the contract should not just go to a favored few, but they need to go to the best people in this country. But that is why Barbados is performing below par.
Longest time.
Because we are not choosing the best people to do the work. But it's a fact. And then on top of that, there are some who come back here and try for a period of time and they can't get the work, they cannot get the contract because they did not give anybody money during the election campaign. And I remember hearing one of our outstanding businessmen, not hear him, I saw him write in the newspaper. The question was asked as to why you give political parties money. And he said, so that whoever get in power, I can get my contracts. Now you know that in other countries, people will get locked up for that. But we ain't locking up nobody, and that is part of the problem. That's why I want to talk about corruption, because we seem not to understand. Corruption is preventing your little babies, your boys and girls, from coming back here and making a contribution to the country that they love. So they come for a while, and then they go overseas to seek their fortune. So you can imagine little black boys and black girls have a better chance of working at the highest level in New York and London that they do in Barbados.
At home.
Well, you can imagine the hurdles that they would have to navigate in order to be chief of surgery somewhere.
Yep.
But if they were in Barbados, they wouldn't get the opportunity. Their homeland, they wouldn't get the opportunity. And I can tell you of my own personal experience. And let me tell you, I don't care if anybody says that I vex about it because it affected me personally. I don't care.
I paid $70,000.
But I recall that there was a contract. I saw it advertised because they advertised them. And when I looked at the requirements under the contract, I said, well, that sounds just like me. I said, that sounds like all the things that I do.
Made for you.
Tax, trade, international business. I said, well, maybe they want me to come for the contract, but they don't want for me.
Yes.
It sounded so much like me. So I wrote the letter, I sent him my CV. I told the person I want an acknowledgement that they received it, and they did give me an acknowledgement. And that was that. I didn't even get an interview. Well, I figured they could interview me and then say that they had a better candidate.
Yeah, play it to the end.
But I live in Barbados, my homeland, a Barbadian citizen. And I didn't even get a look in. And I know who got the contract. And I know they don't have the experience.
You wasn't going to pay the $70,000.
But I know of their connections. And that is how they got it. So that is what is happening in Barbados. You spend millions of dollars to educate children, And when they get here,
There's no hope at the end.
they don't get the opportunities, and that is what corruption causes. The other thing is, Mr. Knox was talking about how, you know, in Barbados, you know, you can build buildings on water courses, divert the water, then to flood out communities. All of those things happening in Barbados. But you know that Barbados has a land development plan where the government is supposed to decide how much land for agriculture, how much land for housing, how much land for business. But we don't follow it. Because if somebody comes and they have enough money and they say, we want to do X, Y, Z, under whichever administration, they get to do it. It don't matter that when the rain falls, that the roads are going to become flooded, that the communities are going to become flooded, that people's homes are going to... There was somebody who called me once who told me that a person had built a house and water was gushing through the kitchen door and coming out through the front door. Houses built in a water course. So this is how corruption affects us. But I want to go back to the point of equality, because sometimes I get the feeling that people believe that what they should try to do is to become a member of the privileged classes. And when I say privilege, I ain't talking about white people. Privilege means all kinds of things in Barbados today. It means what connections you have. Whether you're a drug dealer or a gun runner or a businessman, once you got connections in Barbados, now you are privileged and you can get whatever you want. So that's what is happening. But what I want to share with you tonight is to tell you the majority of people are never the privileged. That is why the majority of people have to argue for equality. That's what you have to argue for, that everybody should get the same chance. Every child that is born in Barbados gets an opportunity to go to school. And that is where the equality ends. When they come out in the working world, then they don't get the equal opportunity to get jobs, not even in the public sector. And that needs to change, because Barbados will keep going down and down. When somebody is going to get $2 million to do a $50,000 job, I want Barbadians to understand that it is their money. If it don't come from your taxes, it comes from the World Bank or the IMF or the IADB, and you have to pay it back. You have to pay it back. So when you hear about cost overruns, when you hear about a project that was 50 million, now it's 200 million, when you hear that somehow the government is going to be able to spend $60 million for World Cup in a matter of weeks, you should ask yourself how they're going to get that money spent. It means that there will be a lot of inflated contracts. It means that there's going to be a lot of money being given away. It means that anybody who turn up and wants some money could get some, but it's your money. I want us to understand that all of the assets of Barbados belong to Barbadians. And it belongs to the government to sell, to just decide what they're going to sell. Not the government, not the cabinet, not the prime minister. It is our land, it is our property, it is our buildings. So don't sit down with your mouth shut and don't say anything. It belongs to us. It belongs to us. And I know that there was a notion that you only got to talk every 5 years by your vote. No, you got to be talking all the time. That's what democracy means. That you're talking all the time. Not that when a government changes, you shut your mouth. and don't say anything else? Give the government, the new government, a week and then start on them.
Exactly.
If they didn't do anything yet, start telling them what they should do.
Let them get comfortable.
Don't just leave it to them. You really believe that 30 people sitting in a parliament could know more than 200,000 people? No. No, 29. Well, no, I mean all of them. I mean all of them. I talk about all the members of parliament. I ain't care who in or who out. Because there's something I want to say to you. And there's some people who might not like it. But when you start thinking about Barbados, take off your party shirt. Take off your party shirt and start thinking about Barbados. You see, because sometimes you forget. Sometimes you forget. I ain't forget cola syrup. I ain't forget Carsicot. I ain't forget St. Joseph Hospital. I ain't forget hardwood housing. I ain't forget gems. I ain't forget steel frame houses. I ain't forget hope. I ain't forget none of them. We only ever had 2 parties in Barbados. And Greenland. And all of these things that waste Barbadian money, that mismanage Barbadian money, that give away Barbadian money to a few select people. Every building that built in Barbados got problems with it. Every building. All the new ones that built the hospital down by District 8, all of them got problems.
Every school.
But maybe buildings always have problems. But you know what? Because friends and family build them, the government can't sue nobody.
And they don't have.
Because friends and family build them, and donors to the political campaigns, the government cannot sue them. Because you cannot do poor quality work and not be sued, but the government can't sue them. So your money going down the drain, and every time you need to patch and repair something, more of your money is going. That's why when the little children go to school, they don't have paper. That's why when some of the secondary children at school and they got the projects to do, they got the printer break down, and government can't fix it. So a whole set of children supposed to hand in a project, and it is only if they got a family member that happen to work in an office or something like that, that they get their project done. And people talk about continual assessment. I want to know how they didn't get it done. If the money going somewhere else and not going to the education of our children. So, what I want to leave with you is to understand that when our money is frittered away, it means that we can't buy toilet paper for the QEH. So you gotta walk with your toilet paper. You gotta walk with your cup. You gotta walk with your plate.
You gotta walk with your sheet.
You gotta walk with your sheet. This is a fact. You gotta walk with your food. That's a fact. Because we are wasting the money of the people. And that's why you leave Barbados and you go abroad, you go to Canada, you talk about Canada is sweet. Barbados can be sweet too.
Exactly.
But people believe that y'all don't want any more than you have.
Because we don't demand.
That you don't want your country to be sweet too. That your children should be able to stay here in Barbados if they want to. You can go abroad too. But stay here if they want to and reach their full potential and not be frustrated. I know that parents are telling their children now when they go overseas, look, don't come back. I know that. You know that too. They tell them don't bother to come back. I never would have thought that. I always felt that this was the best place in the world to be. And it is. But we have to stand up and step up and make sure that we let all politicians know, all of them, who will say that they are representing us in Parliament, that they have to do a better job. The Auditor General puts out a report every year talking about the mismanagement, the thieving, all kinds of things. Nobody is suspended, nobody is fired, nobody is charged, nobody convicted, nobody goes to jail for anything. Money just missing. And you know what they say about you? That you can talk about the Auditor General's report for 2 weeks and then you can stop. All kinds of nonsense. Money written off from Four Seasons. When the Auditor General is saying he can't understand why they write it off. Your money. And who get the money from Four Seasons? There are a number of, let us call in inverted commas, professionals and contractors who got the money. And that doesn't concern you. It concerns me. Because they work for it. I don't mind people getting money when they work. But I have a problem. And you see the Four Seasons? Both parties shared in the spoils. Both of them. Both parties shared in the spoils. It is time. This is a time for a reckoning. Because I don't know. You see Barbados? They're telling you about 4% growth. Growth where? How is that possible? International business on the way down. You ain't doing the light manufacturing no more. The people ain't down doing the data processing no more. All you get is 1 or 2 tourists about the place. Y'all ever went to England and see tourists? And London isn't supposed to be a tourist destination. Man, when you see them people coming off over the bridge, they're becoming in droves. That's what real tourists look like. When you go to the Bahamas, y'all get excited when you see 2 cruise ships. When you go to the Bahamas, them is got 20 at one time. And St. Martin, and you get excited because you see a ship park out there. Barbados is underperforming. And I believe that it is deliberate to make you believe that things are going well. But if you're going to let a few payrolls trick you, that's up to you. If you're going to let a few payrolls trick you, up to you. If you're going to let a few garbage bins trick you, well, up to you. Because I find it interesting, and I want to close on this. I find it interesting. You had a prime minister that said he wanted a graduate in every household. You had one that said that he want a car park by every household. But we got one that gave a garbage can to every household.
Come on, let's hear it from Miss Eastman. Put your hands together tonight. Great, on the button. I tell you, the ultimate, listen to me carefully, the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people. You want me to repeat that?
Repeat it.
The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty of the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people.
Correct.
Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we are not afraid. We are not afraid. You will not silence these voices. These voices will get louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. I have said before, and I looked it up again tonight, The only thing for evil people to triumph is for good people to remain silent. We have been told by a former leader of the opposition at the time that we must not allow anybody to stop us from expressing ourselves in this country. And we are exercising that right not only tonight, but it will be exercised every night we live, every day we live. I also want to say to you that if you want to have good people in Parliament, you must start with good and honest people out here. We have to have a good and honest assessment of anybody who wants to represent us in Parliament in the future. Away with corned beef and sardines. You are not ever going to buy my vote again. And if you come around in the next election, we are going to take your food and vote you out. But I am not a speaker tonight. I am the moderator. And I have a colleague coming to you now. They didn't ask me to sing nothing, even though I can turn a tune. But this gentleman coming to share his music with you tonight is well known in this country to be one of the top calypsonians that we know of. I want you to put your hands together and welcome Kid Sykes to the platform tonight.
Hello, how are you feeling? Hello, how are you feeling? I can't hear how I'm feeling. You have to tell me that the entertainers have been fighting to come to these things. Well, I've been singing for 4 years and I fight him, well, I don't sing no more. Well, I see that I am among friends, so I don't see no reason to be frightened. Mr. Ferdinand and me went to the same school. Marcy and David is my friend. Lynette went to school with me. And Caswell is my friend, so I got enough friends over here. No! I had this song that I write because of a woman in Black Rock. A man get knocked down. They carried to the hospital, and a woman from Black Rock went down there, and the nurse said he rested peacefully. She went back and tell the whole Black Rock, rest in peace, he died. So I wrote this song because of that woman in Black Rock. I feel Black Rock people is the most malicious people in Barbados. But you know, they got persons that will argue that line true. So I had a song called Too Malicious and Dangerous. And I can start with that song. But when I think I had to sing it, I would like to have very much have to sing this song. When I hear who can win, the best friend man. When I hear who get home with drugs up in Brooklyn. When I hear who the most worthless Calypsonian. Well, if when I hear, I swear your head from a vision. Cause price is rising, people struggling, crime increasing, tourists incoming. But people malicious in people's business they talking. And they don't even wait to get their facts straight. I tell them that EduTech was money spent in the right place. They say, I say, they take their money and waste. I say to push up the stall and give the village back was a bare joke. They say, I say, they stall into buy votes. I tell them that the QE service is really the best. They say, I say, the QE ain't a real mess when I'm too malicious. I can't hear when used to think and plan to run, and they say that win is a man that drink like a run. So dangerous, I'm malicious and Barbados you're from. I say and dangerous. Too malicious and dangerous. So don't leave a bubble and line. Don't leave a bubble. When I hear who child pass the exam, when I hear who daughter got a second man, when I hear who got the ends and look like a one, they'll practice the talk, you just hear from the vengeance. While business closing, people in working, rich people striving, your belly surviving. Yet people only checking for the latest news in town, and everything that they hear, they turn it around. I tell them the family law is good for men and good for women, they say. I say it help women unfair but men. I tell them that Barney, he take tourism and he turn it around, they say. I say he running tourism down. I tell them that the police, then he catch Vincent Hall with a dog, they say. I say the police dying to the dog with a two. Malicious and dangerous. Too malicious and dangerous. I'm not telling you that Marcia and Caswell is in a trouble, but they had to say that I say that then represent the people. So dangerous. I'm malicious and dangerous. The fun. Woman's kind of 100% dangerous. Take this up. Too malicious and dangerous. Yeah, too malicious and dangerous. Take it down. Give me an extra. Give me an extra. Give me an extra. Cause I got some things in Barbados who only happen down here. So bring me an extra. Only down here. That's great name. Any part that one I want to say only down here. Right to do that? Alright, here we go. He's still part two malicious and dangerous. Alright. Now every time when I go some only about here, right? You see the landship and street schools music. Where they come from, tell me. Only about here. Marvin Lewis windmill, Eli and Akron Hill. Where they come from, tell me. Only about here. It's only in Barbados we just see these things. It's only in Barbados certain things as they happening. Man from Afghanistan to Pakistan, England down to Suriname, they're gonna search the world everywhere. We'll find things that only about here. Like a beach house from the sand, then it cost $500,000. Could you find that in Japan? No way, no way. Only about here. Look, teacher give a period of slack, then it kill you in the attack. Could that happen in Iraq? No way, no way. Only about here. Look, and that dirty smell that man from the belly so stinky people can't bear. In fact, was the heights and the terraces, that's still with them gone away. But some wind went down there. Dr. Rasta not plenty here. I'm sorry to declare. Where else he could do that there? People tell me where. Only about here. Only about here. And not elsewhere. I tell you some foolish things has happened only about here. Only about here. And not anywhere. I tell you some foolish things has happened only about here. You see surgery and over Delhi. Where I come from, tell me. Only about here. Jackie Opel, Bridget Scout, Miss Springer, all of them as well. Where they come from? Only about here. It's only in Barbados these singers, that's what we check. It's only in Barbados and then get me show the respect. But politicians promise me, shrink we, turn around, raise the salary, so we push them up in the air. That does only happen about here. People working for their money, yet politicians taking big salary. Could that happen in Germany? No way, no way. Only about here. ready. It's our heading to Eurasia. So much less to the ends. Blood in this island. Hudson, Vincent to Guyana. True, we got this from this dollar. But being from the neighbors. So which place got the most affair? Tell me where. Only about here. Only about here. And not elsewhere. I tell you, see, yes, and niggas Franklin only about here. Only about here. And not anywhere. I tell you some foolish things that's happened only about here. Take it on, take it on, take it on. All right. Now, I feel like we're here on the part tonight. I feel like we're top tonight. I will not talk yet just now. Tell me one single she. And again, I know the single she, but younger has big long pretty hair with that long extensive hair. It's called on. Ready? But look, give me the buck out version there. Buck out, buck out, buck out, buck out. Go on, you rhythms in the meter rhythms. That's a little tough for one. I can sing with these girls up. I sing the truth, but not about the truth, no. The war ready. I'm walking for concrete, the war ready. I'm drinking Bobby, the war. $500, $600, $700 here for the head of war. $800, $900, $1,000 rent crew, rent the war ready. Now everything say what I say, what to do that, what to do that? Before she goes to learning comprehension. I heard me that the young people now. Before she goes to learning comprehension, she really ready to get attention. Teacher for she in detention. That won't even get the mention. In order to buy the extension, want to carry everything the pension. I want to take it down, take it down. Marcia tell me don't behave so bad, don't me. Marcia tell me behave myself. So I can do a little tribute now. A little tribute now to a great man. Everybody know this song. So you can do a little tribute right now. Whoa, he was a Caribbean man. Him a conscious man. Talking about the one called Errol Walton. Hey, the people are you can't go wrong. I don't hear every second song. To one the greatest man ever walked on this land. Father of this year, little nation, here's the one. Who give liberation, here's the one. Fight for integration, here's the one. And give me free education, here's the one. Poor man, champion. In 1950 when he first became permanent. When he went a seat in the House of Parliament. In 1961, he made the government back together. He was a content. 5 years later, and his argument, he made this whole island independent. Secondary education, it didn't be a cent. He see that poor man getting good treatment. Some call it the giver, some call it the silver, some call it the teacher, some call him father. But most of them call him prime minister. So, whether you're old, whether you're young, come let me sing this song. Shut up, no. Yes, you know he is a national hero. He guided us from a child and watched us grow. So many achievements he had to show. I'm so sad to see him go. But this is something I want you all to know. I will never forget if I ever walk tomorrow. You know what? He is the one who gave you liberation. He is the one. Fight for integration, he is the one. And give me free education. But in 1976, it's up for disappointment. When Mr. Thorne and it's when the government, they tell him to retire. The government's president. But he was patient. He just keep on. He didn't relent. True to the strong and fearful commitment. 10 years later, we're back in government. Now today he's no longer here. But the people don't shed a tear. When they check out the quick, love comes clear. I'll let us see our Baron Saki is living up. Marcus Garvey was a great man. But next to Mali was a great man. And he was so right. Mandela was a great man. So every brother, then they have a little one, so then they get old, then they get young. And they see this is touch like Lambo. Yes, you know, he's a national hero. He carried us from a child, don't watch us grow. So many achievements he had to show. I'm so sad to see him go. But this is something I want you all to know. I will never forget to put a robot down. Thank you.
Let's hear it for Mr. Sykes tonight. Come on, let's hear it for Kid. I have just taken a look at the YouTube live view. At the moment, 2,432 views. I cannot repeat what you said, Caswell, about one of them being me. I can't repeat that. I'm not in a position to vindicate that, you know. But just in case it is good night, ma'am, it's a pleasure to have you watching us. And we are deeply appreciative for you taking the time to join us tonight. I say that most respectfully. But please remember what Bishop Jerry Seal said to you in Base Street. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a peculiar time for me. I have developed some friends that I never even thought I would have been able to develop. And among two of them is Lamamba and our next speaker, Mr. Bongo Lights. Will you put your hands together and welcome him tonight, please? Bongo Lights, where are you, sir? Come on up.
He pretended to be good at maths, not English. I just pretended to care about people. He pretended to be good at maths, not English. I just pretended to care about people. Maths, not English. English. Pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. I just pretended to care about people. 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 And I pretend to be good at maths, not English. I just pretend to care about people.
Alright, good night people, good night, good night. Good night. I'm glad to be here. Glad to see the turnout in your numbers. And you know, I want to give Marcia, you all give Marcia a full round of applause. Thank you. She deserves it. Caswell. My brother Lamamba. Alexander, forgetting him all the time. The brother was just here. And there are so many, they sent all of us, you know. We came through a lot, you know what I mean, in the early times when it came the pandemic and this COVID foolishness. Me and Lamamba see the awareness and see that these are to treat these people, and next minute can get them a job, and next week things can happen because we was aware of certain information that was passing through the internet. So we went on it immediately to work on it. They were calling us all conspiracy theorists. There was customary, there was things, and when the things start to happen, people start to see what we were selling them. Bajans, we've learned from this experience. We've learned from this experience. Don't let these people deceive us. No more. No more. These people always come in with some trick and say that, oh, we can do this, but we're not going to do that. Next minute they want to do mandatory. It's going to be mandatory. They come the same way with the job. Oh, we can do this mandatory.
Next week was mandatory. The company digital ID, now we had to try out to get meat to silence with this cyber bill. You understand what people, this cyber crime bill will shall be everybody. And we will stand firm. They will not stop us from speaking. So long as the Almighty give us a voice, we will speak the truth. And we will let the people know what's going on, because we are the ones out front speaking and educating the people and making people aware of what's going on. Right? And these youngsters now that I see now that join with us now, remember you all will carry on the baton. And we want you to come in strong and build with a mentality strong. And don't get tricked or get carried away and lead my people astray. Stay focused, stay honorable, and in the future, I would love to hear from my grave that you all have raised Barbados to a higher level, because you're the future generation. God bless. Rastafari.
Well, you can tell that Bongo is not a Pentecostal minister. You can tell that, boy. I told him he had a couple of minutes, and he went for a couple of minutes. They tell me I only got 2 and I'm going for 10. But listen, we lost the feed to YouTube. But when I checked last, I sees SIEE 2,714 views. All right, and that's not even live. I mean, that's really live cut off, 2,714. You know, one of the things I have enjoyed being a part of the Marcy Week show is the number of different aspects of people that are coming to bear with regards to the well-being of our country. I am so proud to be a part. So proud to be a part of an event, or should I say a movement, let me say a movement, that is not steeped in political parties, but is rooted in the well-being of Barbados as a country. Regardless of your political persuasion, religious persuasion, regardless of whether you're male or female, regardless of whether you're from the heights or the terraces, we are all Barbadian citizens, and this loyal opposition is committed to the well-being of this nation and the future of this country for the benefit of our children. The national anthem says it so well: strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. And tonight we are honored to have our, let me put it that way. We're honored to have a couple of speakers that will bring the curtain down on our evening together here, 2 powerful men. And we are deeply appreciative of their presence here with us this evening. I want you at this time to put your hands together and welcome one of our senators of the loyal official opposition of Barbados in Parliament and the Senate. Will you put your hands together and welcome Mr. Ryan? Mr. Ryan, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Ryan, I can't hear you. Thank you, Mr. Ryan Walters.
To be good at maths nor English, I just pretend to care about people. At maths nor English. Pretending to be good, pretending to be good, just pretending to be good, pretending to be good, I just pretend to care about people. 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 Good evening. Good evening. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. This is my first time as my leader of the opposition say the safe confines of good people.
All right, Ryan.
Before I get into my conversation with you, I want to recognize the hard work and dedication of the team that is able to pull this off. Please give them a round of applause. Marcel Show, Unity Workers Union, Barbados Concerned Citizens, the Rastafari Progressive Movement, the Steering Committee, Watch Out My Children. This is powerful because this meeting here tonight shows you what cooperation can do, what unity and bringing the people from all spheres of life, of society can achieve. This is the Barbadian mentality that we need going forward. And groupings like this, I've been observing over the last few months, and you have been bearing some good fruit. You have success stories. It is because of you that the Child Protection Bill did not pass in its current state. Give yourself a round of applause. It is because of you that we do not all have to take this digital ID. Your marches, your voice on these important issues. The cybercrime bill. It is because of your strong voice. The work in the hot sun is not in vain. Barbados is on your side. They may not come out and march. They may not all be here. But trust me when I tell you that they are on your side. Do not give up. I am proud to be part of this gathering today. Because it feels good to be part of a family that wants the best for Barbados. Not wants the best for itself. For Barbados. Here at Caswell, for our children, we want to make our children proud. Not of only what we've done, but how we have developed our country. We need young men and women, brave men and women, who have the interests of Barbados first and foremost.
Barbados first, egos last.
Egos, friendships last. And as a candidate in the election, the last election, it opened my eyes to the state of affairs in our country as it relates to politics and governance. People are not happy. They are not happy. And they have been disappointed. Disappointed with promises. Disappointed with false hope. Disappointed with people saying one thing, doing the other. Being used just to get power. And then they change on you, they flip the script, and they focus on themselves and their family and their friends. The reality is that this BLP government has done the same thing. They have deceived the people of Barbados. They have deceived you because they have told you that they will rescue the nation. They have told you they are going to set you free. They have told you that you are overtaxed. The burden is too much. They told you, them, will come to the rescue and free Barbados. But what have they done?
Nothing.
What have they done?
Enough nastiness.
As soon as they came to office, you can see the policy position of this government. And it is not people oriented. It is not people oriented because this government, within months, shift the burden, the financial burden of this country to the poor people and let corporate Barbados free. And we have proof to that. This is not idle talk. This is facts. It was said that we were overtaxed, we were overburdened, and that the previous administration had us in a chokehold as related to prices. The government won the majority, a significant majority, all because you voted and supported them on that day in 2018. But they turned their backs on you in a few months. And the tax war, I call it a tax war. The government takes in revenue by taxes. You pay taxes, businesses pay taxes, businesses collect taxes on the government's behalf that you paid in. But what did the government do? And this is important for you to understand where the mindset of this current administration is. Because a time will come when you again will face the polls, and it will not be because you like somebody, or as Lynette said, because they can talk fancy, or as the Reverend said, because they got corn from biscuits, or they give you $100 bill. We will not accept that anymore. But watch the tax war. In the 2018 budgetary statement, this is what the Prime Minister said. As promised, we will repeal the National Social Responsibility Levy from July 1st. This will cost the government approximately $145 million. When the NSR was put on, many prices rose by double digits, depressing retail sales and economic activity. Mr. Speaker, sir, she said, we are conscious, and the Central Bank of Barbados reflected that there was a doubling of inflation in 2017, caused predominantly by the rate of the NSRL. My government expects that the removal of this distortionary levy will lead within 2 months to a reduction in prices for average Barbadians. This is 72 months. Have you got a reduction in prices? But this is what you lost. You have lost close to $800 million in your tax revenue. They lost it. But the government just can't lose revenue. They have to get it from somewhere else. So what did the government do? Sewage tax, garbage tax, health tax, fuel tax. Do you understand what I am saying? Do you understand that they relieve the corporate Barbados of taxes? The taxes, the tax burden was not lifted. It was not passed through to you. And then, knowing this, they put on another slew of taxes to recoup the money.
Now what is it? You know if I be here.
So that, I have explained to you that over the last 6 years, the government has raised, in excess of $800 million from the pockets of hard-working citizens in this country. Give away $800 million in 2 months, and then seek to collect the money from you. Where does their interest lie? Tell me, does it lie in your household? It doesn't. They have deceived you, and this is what Barbadians are concerned with. That here we have campaigning time, election time, and you have these promises, but yet you turn your back against the people that support you based on what you say you are going to do. It must come to an end, and we need you, the loyal opposition, to stand up for this. We need you, that when the time comes again, you are able to express a view. that you will no longer be taking this nonsense, this deceit, the lies, the betrayal. Do you agree?
Yes.
Listen, I do not take this job of being an opposition senator lightly.
Of course not.
It is important for us to have a voice in Parliament.
Very much so.
It is important for us to have voices outside of Parliament.
Doing a good job.
And I tell you here tonight with all sincerity that regardless of who government is in place, this should not end.
Never.
Because we have to keep the government on the watch, keep their feet on the fire, so that they operate in the best interest of not themselves, but your children, their grandchildren, your parents, your grandparents, the society as a whole. Because if not for us, there is no society.
That's right.
And I always say, and my mantra is take care of the people, and the people will take care of the economy. How hard is that?
That's right. They're more than an economy. They're a society.
If you do not get up tomorrow and go to work, or Tuesday and go to work, no one will earn a cent in this country.
More than an economy. We are a
The businesses
society.
will close, the government will shut down.
Right.
It is because of you.
Right.
So do not take this meeting tonight, do not take your 4 meetings weekly for granted. They mean something to people of Barbados. And the shameful thing is that you have a situation where everyone is singing for the same hymn sheet, although they know that they're wrong. Young ministers going into supermarkets and telling you we have better prices than we had when we were COVID. You have senior ministers know whose job it is to come and tell you to expect a price increase because of some war in another place, because of some shipment arrangement. That is what they're doing. Instead of spending time with solutions to fix these problems, they are spending time advising you of the pain to come. Of the pain to come. And lo and behold, here we have it. Ladies and gentlemen, understand this, that we just passed a bill this week, last week in Senate, where businesses will pay a higher corporation tax rate.
Right.
Did you hear them cry out?
No.
Did you see the business community cry out?
No. Patricia Tannis and them like it. Tannis and them like
But
that.
what this means for the government is that they will have more revenue to work with. But they need to work the revenue on your behalf. Because if you're moving taxes from 5% to 9%, and in some instances 15%, you understand how much more money they will get?
That's right.
Do you understand that they can double their revenue intake?
They can't borrow more internationally, so they're going to do it here to get money.
So we are demanding, as a loyal opposition, no more loans.
No.
Fix the schools.
Domestic boring. Domestic
Fix the infrastructure. Pay the staff. Pay the nurses. Pay the teachers. Stop with this temporary contract nonsense. Where you're working for 6 months and then have to go and look for a job, or have to be dependent on a minister or member of parliament for another 6 months. That is the position. It is a political strategy for them to hold people close to them and to be vulnerable, to keep you in a vulnerable state, to say you have to come back to me for 6 months so that I can get you another job, extend your contract. That is not the Barbados that we want.
No.
If we need nurses, give them permanent work. If we need teachers and principals, give them permanent work.
Drainage workers, they need
We
drainage
do
workers.
not need this mindset that we as legislators and as politicians are having our constituents The people that voted us come knocking and begging every other week for a job, for assistance. And you know the first thing they do is they, when you go to the office, they pull up the voters list to see if you're on the list and to see if you voted. And if you ain't vote, your goose cut. And if they feel you vote for another party, your goose boring. Big. It's not the politics that we need in Barbados today. We need a politics where people are first, where that once you're in government, there is no blue, there's no yellow, there's no red, there's no black. It's governance for all, for the betterment of our society.
Fair governance. Correct.
So we are urging the government on this windfall of revenue that they will get, that they will do good on behalf of the people. And I heard another speaker allude to it earlier about this one notion of growth. What growth? And the governor of the central bank is borderline irresponsible in his comments. And I stand by that, because you cannot come and say that we've had 12 consecutive quarters of economic growth without putting it in context.
He gonna talk.
Let me keep from zero. What do you expect? Not growth? This is really growth. This is growth that the Barbados Labour Party, that this government has on record.
Kevin Greenwich is a joke.
Growth in the size of cabinet. You remember that? All 30 members of parliament were either ministers or parliamentary secretaries. All unheard of. That is growth that they have on their record.
That's right.
Growth in consultants.
Yeah, pay $6,000 a month in consultants.
Growth in consultants, and the leader of the opposition spoke about $30,000 pound payments for consulting in whole project. $30,000 a month. And that's just one. Multiply that by 30 ministries. And multiply that by 5. You're up in hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's right, correct.
Hundreds of millions. And you have a situation, as Caswell Franklin said, where now they're getting bonus payments every year. They're getting the gratuities every year. So you are in a contract as a consultant. You get a monthly salary, then you get a gratuity. But a person that is a normal worker is on a contract for 6 months and gets nothing but has to come back and apply for a job. Your growth, the growth that they have on record is growth in wastage. Wastage. Oh, we're going to build 10,000 homes. Oh, we're going to import steel frame houses from China. And you understand the level of taxpayers' dollars are wasted or swindled away. You understand that this is the record of this government. The growth that they are speaking about is growth in the wrong direction, everything negative, everything bad for this country. Nothing good. Nothing good at all.
Sell out the airport. I don't know what we're doing.
When you are in opposition, we have to remain focused. We have to remain focused. If we are not focused, we will end up in a similar situation come next election. Do not let your vote go to waste. You have to come out and express your right to vote, because this is not good for democracy. This is not good for governance. This is not good for the future of our nation. We have a situation where there is no vision for our youth. There is no vision. We are in a position where the government is fighting crime by holding cricket matches. That is it. You are in a position where there are no job opportunities for all young people coming out of university.
But then still, you're walking up
We
and down
have
East
a
Coast
problem
Road.
where our school system is being broken slowly but surely. School reform will not happen, and we are not hearing from the consultants. Have the consultants been laid off? Have they been laid off? Because we do not know what's going to happen.
That's why you use them for funerals and site visits.
We don't know.
That's why you use them for funerals and
But
site visits.
if education is a right created by our founding Prime Minister Barrow, it is a right for every student, every young person in this country to get access to education.
Right.
Is it not true? It is a right. So if we are spending the second highest budget of the government is with education, if we are spending so much money on educating our young minds, which we should continue to do, should it be right that they have access to jobs?
That's right.
Should they have access to jobs? Decent, hard-working, paying jobs. Not jobs where you have to come and beg people. Not jobs where you have to do unethical things. Not jobs where if we don't have on a certain kind of shirt, you will not get a renewed contract. We have decent young men and women who need to be thinking differently and who need to be told and to see that government is acting responsibly. Because if we do not prove that, we are going to get less young people interested in politics, less young people wanting to come to these forums to hear what is going on. And we cannot allow that to happen. Loyal opposition, are you ready to continue this work? I urge you, do not drop the ball. Marcia said, you are the financiers of this. Do not drop the ball. I give you my commitment that I will do my best to serve the interests of every single Barbadian. And I will support anything that is productive as it relates to having a strong opposing voice in this country. And I want to commend all of you for coming out in your numbers here today as a show of support that we as citizens still have control of Barbados. And no one will ever take that away from us. As I close, I want to thank you for the show of support for what is happening in the Parliament of Barbados recently. Please give our leader of opposition a round of applause. Please give Senator Trisha Watson a round of applause. We are outnumbered, but we will fight. And you will fight. And together we will conquer. Thank you.
When your friends are easy, and when you roll it with the army that you steer, we represent Gaza. We no afraid of nobody, no afraid of nobody. We no afraid of nobody, no afraid of nobody. We no afraid of nobody, we no afraid of nobody. Never scared, never scared, never scared, never scared, never scared. We run the road, we got wider than this.
One of these days I'm going to learn to sing like that. We no afraid of nobody. 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 I tell you, Lord, have mercy. Oh, wow. Put your hands together for Mr. Ryan, please. Come on, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. Now, I'm not going to be long. because I want to get the next speaker on very quickly, but just a little housekeeping. Next week, we will not be having a march, because there is, as you would have remembered, the diaspora put together a health fair, which we have promoted on the show, and that's going to be next week on Saturday at the King George V Memorial Park, 9 till 6. All kind of health checks, blood pressure, I don't know, all kinds of pressure. I don't know if there are certain other checks they will do, but whatever you want. I don't know if they will check your cholesterol level or whatever, but you just go to King George V next week. 9 o'clock it starts from the diaspora, and we want to make sure that we fully support them. United for a Healthier Barbados present the Health and Wellness Festival next week Saturday, 9 to 6 at the King George V Memorial Park. But I will say that next week we will be having another roadside parliament. Stay tuned for the venue. But there will be another roadside parliament next week on Sunday. All right, so you stay tuned and you will hear the appropriate announcements to let you know where it's going to be. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a great evening. God has even graced us with showers of blessing. Kept the place cool, washed it down, cleaned out your liver and all the rest of it. And we're grateful for the presence that He has graced us with in this place tonight. We've had a cadre, and some young man, I think, that spoke yesterday said he was going to get that word and keep it, so you hold on to it, sir. We've had a cadre of great speakers tonight, and at the end of the session, you will hear a young man, one of the young leaders of our country, give the vote of thanks for the session tonight. But at this time, I want you to put your hands together, and I want you to welcome the leader of the opposition party of Barbados to the Royal Opposition Roadside Parliament, the Honorable Thorne. Let's hear it for him tonight. Come on. Hold me not here. When you see how I approach the here, don't take check for the opportunity here. You can't miss the flow of your beer. Even if the miss a man for your must disappear. We no afraid of nobody. No afraid of nobody. We no afraid of nobody. No afraid of nobody. We no afraid of nobody. We no afraid of nobody. Never scared, never scared, never scared, never scared. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I was trying to understand the lyrics. Something. But the rhythm is good. And I want us to have a good rhythm here tonight. Good night to Barbados. St. Lucy and St. Joseph. A friend of mine from St. Andrew said today that he is coming. And his name is Andrew. Andrew, are you really here? There's several Andrews here. I told a young man a few minutes ago that Theory, I just met Theory 2-3 minutes ago, and I told Theory, look, the speech that I propose to make tonight is perhaps a speech made for Theory. And a lot of us are somewhat older than Theory.
but I think it is a message that should extend to all of us. I have not come to address economics. I have not come to address the more technical subjects. I come at a time in Barbados where there's crisis. And there's a crisis in our political system. And there's a crisis among our young people.
That's right.
Deep crisis. And I come tonight to address the topic, politics, morality, and faith. Please pardon my mode of dress. I just left church. I removed the tie. The Anglican Church had its annual synod open, and as all of us know, this is the beginning of Pentecost. Yes! I love Sundays. And I love people who love God. I heard that. I love people who love God. And we all know where wisdom begins.
That's right.
With the love of the Lord.
Correct.
And today is the celebration of the day of Pentecost. And we as Christians, I'm not devout. I came up in a Christian family, a Christian home, a Christian tradition. And tonight you're hearing the voice of a sinner. But I acknowledge God. I know a few of the scriptures. And I know the power of God. And I know the power of prayer. And I want to thank all those people who call me on mornings at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning and pray for me. And pray with me. And pray for this country. And pray for the young people of this country who are in crisis. We at this age have known about Barbados. And what Barbados do we intend to leave for the young people of this country? On our present course, we're not doing so well for the young people of this country. On our present course, we're not doing well by the young people of this country. This is a country in crisis. This is a country whose political system is in crisis. And what are we going to do about it? What is the People's Parliament doing about it? What are we doing about it? I have so much respect for the work that Marcia Weeks and Dave and Caswell and Lamamba and Bongo Lights and Kimar and Maxine McLean. I have so much respect for the work that they have been doing. Give me another name, please. Ferdinand. Kimar, I call Kimar's name. Rose Corbin and Philip. Take a bow, Rose and Philip. I call it a coalition of the righteous. These are good Barbadians, these are good human beings who have gathered together in small numbers and who have agreed to fight this government. And the mantra is, we are not afraid. And we say those words tonight because we live under oppressive government. We live under repressive government. We live under a government that intends to take our freedoms away. And what is our recourse? What can we do in this country? This work that you've done is necessary work. From Saturday to Saturday, as we say in Barbados, in hot bridal sun, and meeting at a place called Independence Square, in the shadow of the national hero of this country, the preeminent national hero of this country, in his shadow, you have reaffirmed a commitment to ensuring that Barbados will once again be a better place. And that is noble. And that is why I call this the coalition of the righteous.
And that's how you should be running.
Politics, morality, and faith. That is my topic tonight. That is my theme tonight. And politics, the political scientists will tell you all kinds of things about politics. They will give you all kinds of definitions. And I say to you that politics is the way in which we organize our society. That is it. Politics is not about the structure of a government. Politics is the way that a government proposes to organize a society. How do you distribute resources? How do you plan for housing? How do you plan for education? How do you plan for health? How do you organize your society? And we live in a country in which the government is dismantling all of the freedoms, all of the policies that we have known, and the policies that have been sacred, the policies that have ensured that every woman and every man and every child in this country should have access, fair access to housing, to education, to health. And every week in that parliament, you are meeting a government that is bringing policies through legislation to that parliament. And were it not for Marcia Weeks and Dave Weeks and Maxine McLean and Timur Stewart and Caswell Franklin, you would have had laws passed in that parliament, your parliament, which would have abridged and infringed your freedoms. Thank God for this place. Thank God for your numbers. Thank God for your participation in the political life of this country. Because if it were not for this group, this government would have trampled the rights of the citizens of this country. Tonight I say thank God for the People's Parliament. We have reached a stage in this country where the People's Parliament now has greater legitimacy than the official parliament of this country. Because if they knew what they were doing, they would pass just laws, and they would pass just laws without protest. And I want you to remain vigilant. I want you to keep your ears to the ground. I want you to keep your eyes open, because this government is not serving your interests. And as you've done with the cybercrime bill, and as you've done with the child protection bill, there are the bills coming. And I want you, People's Parliament, the real Parliament, the Parliament where truth is told, I want you to remain vigilant. There's a moral crisis in this country. And that's why tonight I've come not only to speak to you on politics, but I've come to speak to you on morality. Because there has been a view in this country that there's no relationship between politics and morality. We have come now in Barbados to expect that a politician is necessarily a gangster, a ruthless person, a person of no values, no morals, no principles. That is what they have got the people in this country used to. That a politician is a gangster. And that you destroy people's lives. And that you engage in trickery. And that you abuse power. And that it is about the survival of the fittest. And that there ought to be no compassion. There ought to be no empathy. There ought to be no sympathy for the vulnerable in this country. And that is what they have got Barbadians used to. That a politician is essentially a gangster. And that is why I come to the young people of this country. And that is why I told Thierry tonight that I want him to hear my voice and to say to him that politics must embrace morality. Politics must embrace morality. We came up in a country in which our parents taught us the difference between right and wrong. And every decision we took, we would pause and ask, is it the right thing to do? That has been our way. That has been the way of my generation, of the righteous and of sinners. We have all stopped and asked the question before we make every decision, but is it the right thing to do? And we make mistakes. And we often do the wrong thing. But the important thing is that we stop and we ask the question, is it the right thing to do? And what is the wrong thing? And might I not avoid the wrong thing and do the right thing? Because that is how our parents taught us. And I want to say to you tonight, People's Parliament, that our politics must embrace those principles. That in politics we must pause and say, is it the right thing to do? Is it the right thing to pass a cybercrime bill? And is it the right thing to pass a cybercrime bill that threatens the right of freedom of speech in this country? And I say to you tonight that when a government passes a law and that law intends to infringe your rights, the government did not pause and ask the question, is it the right thing to do? That is morality. That is morality. And I want you, the People's Parliament and the people of Barbados, to demand of your politicians that their actions and their decisions, as I said earlier, should embrace morality. And if you have a government that cannot and does not and will not embrace morality, you have illegitimate government. And will you keep illegitimate government? No. Will you keep illegitimate government? No. Will you keep this government? No. Will your voices of protest sound louder against this government? Yes. And will you continue your marches from Saturday to Saturday? Yes. And will you continue your meetings from Saturday to Saturday? Yes. And do you recognize that this government is not acting in your interest tonight, Barbados? Yes. And do you think you have immoral government? Do you think you have immoral government? I'm going to ask the question in a different way.
Yes, we have.
Do you have a moral government, a good government? You do not have a moral government. And there's a time coming. There's a time coming. Barbados, there's a time coming.
Misguided government.
And when the time comes, I want you to reflect on gatherings like this. We may not have 10,000. We may not have 10,000 gathered here, but we have the strength of 100,000. There's a time coming. And when that time comes, I want you to go back to your villages and your neighborhoods and to speak to your neighbors. And to speak to your relatives, and to speak to your friends, commune with them, and remind them of the experience that they have had under this government. And when that time comes, and you exercise your right to remove this government, what will you do tonight, People's Parliament?
Get rid of them.
You will get rid of them. There's a time coming. This is not a moral government. And my theme tonight is politics, morality.
They need to go.
They need to go.
The worst government.
They need to go.
The worst government.
And you have told me that you have the strength and the power and the spiritual power of 100,000. And as many of us as are gathered here tonight, we're going to move this government. We're going to move this government. We are going to move this government because we are not afraid. We are not afraid. And when we pause and ask the question, in removing this government, But is it the right thing to do? People of Barbados People's Parliament, when we plan to move this government, will it be the right thing to do? Well, please do it. I come to faith. I come to faith. I said I would speak to you tonight on politics, morality, and faith. I am about to open my phone because a neighbor wrote me a message this morning. And when I read his message, I thought that I should come here tonight and share it with you. Please permit me to read it. Ferdy, I know I don't have a lot more time left. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say. People are coming to my office and holding my hands in my office and praying with me. People are calling me at 4 in the morning and praying with me. Because they have seen the battle. They have seen the difficulty of my endurance. But People's Parliament, this is not about me. This is about you. And this is about the suffering people of Barbados. So my tribulations are not tribulations of national concern. My tribulations are private. But my tribulations are taking place because I've dared to take a stand. And I've dared to sit alone in a parliament against 29. And I am not alone. I am not alone.
29 votes! 29 votes!
And I know the tribulations that visit my life from day to day. And I see the arrows coming from all directions. And I repeat my favorite hymn. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say. It is well. It is well with my soul, so don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. There are little children in this country tonight who went to bed without dinner. There are little children who will wake in this country tomorrow morning. And they won't have breakfast. And they'll be exposed. They and their mothers will be exposed to predators. Who will offer them dinner? And who will offer them breakfast? So my tribulations are not great. It is the tribulation of the suffering in this country, which must bring us to an understanding of the country in which we live. And when I spoke about the government, and I will repeat it, when I spoke about a government that is spending $188 million in this financial year, and we standing up here and believing that we live in a free country. A government that will spend $188 million in travel, overseas travel, first class hotels, sipping champagne, getting $1,000 a day US as a per diem. So my tribulations are not great. The tribulations of the people of this country are the tribulations about which we must be concerned. Or young and vulnerable children, or old people who are in abject loneliness. Because this government is an indifferent government. This government does not care. Does not care. So I want to read what my neighbor sent to me this morning. Good morning, Ralph. Just a small word for you. With God all things are possible. Having done all, stand. And he said to me, God brought me through my illness and hospitalization
with one health crisis after another. Then, when I was better and knew that I was, my discharge was delayed a further 6 frustrating weeks. But in that period, I learned to trust God even more. The doctors did their best, but as my friend says, it was God who performed a miracle to bring me through. You are going through very tough challenges now, and there will likely be more and bigger challenges. But having done all, stand, and God will fulfill His promises. The situation may seem impossible to solve because He must have the glory when your deliverance comes. And he ended by saying, be blessed. And it occurred to me, when I read that I should read it to you. He wrote that to me. But that applies to many of us in this country. Many of us of tribulation. Miss Weeks a few weeks ago called me and asked me what to do with a certain letter. This is serious and this is dangerous. You are occupying a dangerous country. When a husband and wife starts a television program and they are to be punished with threats of physical violence against them. We're living in a dangerous country. And a few weeks ago I was at Senator Walters' picnic and VOB called me and asked me to verify a news report. That a news report was sent into VOB saying that it came from me. Saying that it came from me. And it was a false report. And it was sent from a New York number. And it was saying that Kemar Stewart, they had a picture of Kemar's face. That they sent to start on VOB. Instructing them to issue this news report. And this news report was intended to embarrass us. And when I spoke to the nation and to VOB, I told them that that is akin to political terrorism. We are living in an environment in which the enemy is going to all kinds of lengths to destroy this movement. To destroy people who stand against the government. But you have said to them, and I want you to say again tonight, in the face of political terrorism, in the face of the threatening letters, in the face of their refusal to put this meeting where Marcia first wanted it, we are not afraid. But let us have faith. Because we all come to a point where we lose our faith. I have addressed you on politics and the virtue of politics. I have addressed you on morality and the need to be moral in whatever we do. Whether it is politics, whether we are policemen or priests, let us import moral values into what we do and how we do it. Let us always pause and ask the questions before we make every decision. But is it the right thing to do? You live under a government that doesn't ask itself that question. Government asks itself, but is it the expedient thing to do? Will it make us popular? It doesn't matter how the public feels. Will our policies make us popular? And government must have the courage of conviction to ask itself when it is on the point of passing law, but is it the right thing to do? And we thank you so much. We thank you so much for taking the stand that you have taken against this government. And I don't want you to lose your faith. I want you to remember Hebrews. I want you to keep that faith. The substance. You forgot Hebrews? Faith is the substance of things hoped for.
Evidence of things not seen.
Evidence
Of things not seen. Right.
Not seen. And that is such a beautiful piece of scripture. The substance of things hoped for, hope. So that faith involves hope. And it involves evidence that we cannot prove because we don't see it. But People's Parliament tonight, I've come to tell you, keep your politics virtuous. Keep your politics clean. Continue to embrace morality and have faith. I confess to you, being mortal, being afraid of humanity, that several times I lose my faith. I lose my faith. Often I lose my faith. And when those good and honorable people call me on mornings and say, Ralph, press on. And press on without fear. And come here tonight and speak about my convictions and my commitments to the young, the middle-aged, and the aged in this country. Why should I be afraid? Knowing that this group exists. Knowing that there are good, God-fearing people in this country who exist. And that they will join their hands together and continue to pray for this country. And that they will continue to have faith. And that they will acknowledge that faith without works is dead. And so we will continue to work in the interest of the people of this country. And so we will continue to work in the interest of the children of this country who are being dragged into a cesspit of moral decay. That is going into their mind is filth from some people who call themselves entertainers. And I say to you tonight that the government has been sponsoring a lot of those entertainers who are corrupting the minds of your children. But I will come back. And I will come back and give you details. Probably has my time run out. If you all stay here much longer, the police will come and use you. So let us say goodbye. And let us say goodbye with those words that will come to define this movement. We are not afraid. Now they're telling me to go on to 9:30. Well, if they're giving you a little more time, do you want a little more time? Is it not past your bedtime? Are you standing here because you care for the children of this country? Yes! Are you standing here because you love this country? Yes! And will you continue to love this country? Yes! Speak your mind, Mr. Thorne! Well, let us continue to labor. Speak! Let us continue our labors. Because the sister there said just now, faith without works is dead. And we continue to do this because what we do is not hard work compared to those who went before us. Thank you, Kenneth. I can see you, know. Faith without works is dead, and by that they mean that we must go into the highways and byways. Yes. And we must continue to labor for the freedom of this country. Yes, yes. And I say to you that when we feel that we are losing our faith, when we feel that we are about to give up, let us cast our minds back to those beautiful people called parents and grandparents and great-grandparents whom we probably never met, but were it not for them, we would not be standing here tonight. They never gave up. And if they had given up, we would not be here tonight. Could we consider that? And should we not consider that our labors are not difficult? And should we not plan that if we continue to do this together, our labors will not be in vain? Let us remember our parents. those of us who have. Let us remember our grandparents, those of us who are lucky enough to have. Let us remember our great-grandparents and our great-great-grandparents who never gave up, who lived in a more difficult Barbados, who lived in a Barbados when labor was not rewarded with salaries. And tonight we have salaries. Maybe we don't have the freedoms that we want. But let us continue to work hard because others before us work harder. Let us not lose our faith. Let us never give up. Let us continue to work in the interest of the people of this country. Let us acknowledge that we have a government which is dishonoring the people of this country. I say to you tonight that politics is a process. It begins with a thought. You have to think about the policies if you're a politician. What policies will you employ in relation to education, to health, to housing, to the fixing of roads, and that's another issue. And your thoughts must be based on truth.
That's right.
Your thoughts must be based on truth. A politician must think truth. Because thought leads to speech. And you hear a politician speech in that parliament. And I say to you that from week to week, I sit in there and I don't hear a lot of truth. I don't hear a lot of truth. And if thought must lead to truth, our thought must be comprised of truth. If thought must be based on truth, speech also must be based on truth. But if their thoughts are dishonest, their speech will be dishonest.
Correct.
And if their speech is dishonest, the actions they take will be dishonest.
That's right.
And at the last meeting that I addressed this People's Parliament, I told you that there was a politician in this country who stood up in that parliament and told you that he has given 1,200 jobs to those poor people in the city. And I met with the people in the city and they told me it was not true. And I want you to go and ask the people in the city if he has delivered on the 1,200 jobs that he promised.
He delivered a pay.
But it began with a thought that was dishonest. And it led to a speech that was dishonest. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the action is dishonest. And you read in your papers today of a project that is bringing this country to the precipice of danger. When this government should occupy itself with the rehabilitation of criminal wrongdoers. This government has entered into a dangerous negotiation with the criminal element in this country.
Yes.
A dangerous negotiation.
That's right.
And a prison officer, Caswell, did you speak about this tonight? Caswell, why did you not tell the people about this tonight? That you were given a prison officer thanks to Maria Bradshaw investigative journalism.
That's right.
Thanks for the existence of Maria Bradshaw.
Right. Finally.
This is dangerous. When the government is handing out money to men to deter them. My God, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it.
Say the truth.
It is the night.
Say the truth.
And dangerous things happen at night. But this thing has become so dangerous
that
those men now shoot each other in broad daylight. And rather and enlist your police service to do its job. Your government is in negotiation with a criminal element
I got no respect
in your government. With money. With money. And I'm getting calls from people every day that the welfare check is not enough. Women in an apartment with 3 children, and a delinquent father, an absent father. And we are handing large amounts of money. And I'm not embarrassed to say to you that I met with a certain man from the city. And as he was walking through my door, I'm so afraid to say this. Do you want to hear it?
Yes!
Will it not make you afraid?
No! Not God, what we say. We have God on our side, so speak.
God is on our side.
That's right, speak.
That's what Adrian says, God is on our side.
Correct, speak.
And he whispered into my ear that there are men in this country who have committed 3 murders.
Only 3, but that's not
And they're not in St. Philip. And your government is paying them money.
correct.
Not to commit a 4th murder. Which of us will be that 4th murder? Which of us will take the stray bullet? And perhaps we won't take the stray bullet if the government gives him enough of your taxes. Keep it quiet. Keep it quiet. Keep it quiet. Let us leave that alone. But when Maria Bradshaw went and asked the minister to give explanation for these payments, he referred Maria Bradshaw to the Attorney General of this country.
Another joker, you know what I'm on.
And when she looked all this into this paper, you all didn't read it.
But guys, you know what I'm
You read the Sunday Sun? And did you not tremble with fear? Were you not afraid for the future of your country? Were you not afraid that you are bringing up your children in a country which is unstable? Were you not afraid that you are bringing up your children in a country in which they could lose their lives if a criminal wrongdoer with a gun is not paid enough of your taxes? It is as serious as that.
That's right.
And the Attorney General of this country who believes that he is beyond criticism, and when I criticize him in the Parliament of this country, his response is to insult me and to say that I have committed 5 of the 7 cardinal and deadly sins. But I will continue. I will continue to ask the Attorney General of this country the questions to which the people of this country are demanding answers.
That's right.
And the journalists at the Nation today reminded us that one minister was asked to give account. And he referred the journalist to the Attorney General. What did your Attorney General say? What did you read in your newspaper today that the Attorney General said? No comment.
Obviously.
No comment.
Dumb,
well, when we come to these meetings, we have a comment to make. And our comment is that this government is an incompetent government. Our comment is that this government has lost the right and the legitimacy to rule this country for much longer. And what will you do when the time comes? The time is coming.
All a bunch of criminals.
The time is coming. This is a dangerous land. And this land is being made more dangerous by a dangerous government. And this government is making our lives more dangerous because this government.
That's right. Be a criminals.
This government.
From the top to the bottom. All of them is criminals.
It is a fact. They are in association.
That's right. Church, village,
this government is transactional.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
Of course.
But if the government wants somebody to support it, the government doesn't appeal to the person's sense of morality and decency and honesty and integrity. The government appeals to the pocket. The government is taking your taxes and it is distributing it to all types of people in this country merely for support and the expedience of support and popularity and love.
That way they use HAS funds. That way they use HAS funds.
Whole body.
And that way share Veronica.
Time is coming. We are not afraid now.
That's right.
Let us not lose our faith in the interim. Let us not give up. Let us never relent. Let us continue to fight for the freedoms and the interests and the entitlements of our children. We brought them into this world. They did not ask us to come here, we brought them here. And we have a responsibility to our children. And the government has a responsibility to protect the children of this country. And how can you protect the children of this country? When you are making transactions with men who endanger the lives of the children of this country every day. That children cannot leave their houses. Children cannot run across the street. And every time there's a murder, you hear the child, you hear the adults. They lament that the child could have been in that spot where the bullets flew. That is the lament of this country. That has become a dangerous place. And this government has found itself unfit and inadequate to solve the problem of violence and crime in this country. And when the government starts to pay people, when the government takes up taxpayers' money and starts to give people a reward for peace. That's what they're calling the program. A peace program. And simmering just below that surface of apparent peace is a bomb waiting to explode. And how many of us will be there? How many of us will be unlucky enough to drive past that street? This is serious business. This is a dangerous place. This is a dangerous land. This is a dangerous government. But the time is coming. And we are not afraid. We are not afraid. I want you to leave here tonight remembering that we will never be afraid of this government. I want you to remember, and I'm going to deal with this when I come on the next occasion. Caswell, did you speak about the cybercrime bill tonight? And did you tell these good people that the minister admitted at the select committee last week? She admitted when I asked her if as a result of this cybercrime law, they will be able to charge people in Canada, the United States and England. And Mr. Franklin, do you remember what she said? She said no. And I asked the question because I know the law. And I read the bill. And that bill does not give this government, this police service, the power to charge anybody overseas. And if it does not give the government or the police to charge anybody overseas, who is it intended to charge? Who is it intended to charge? They can't charge a fellow in Toronto. They can't charge a fellow in the United States. They can't charge a fellow in Britain. It is designed for you. They come in for you. It isn't only the letters that Marcia Weeks got. It isn't only the letter that Kemar Stewart got. It isn't only the false reports that they're sending to VOB to embarrass us. They're coming for you. And the young man in the BLP reminded you when he said that the law is there to stop y'all from cursing ministers. It is a law intended to protect a small class of persons in this country. And that is why all the protests against that bill now become legitimate protests. They can't extradite a man from New York. They can't extradite a woman from England. That law is to come for you. And if you go on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and say something that they don't like, it's getting dangerous. Please go home. Please go home and pray. And lock your houses and hope to see another day. Hope to see a better day.
In Jesus' name.
But a better day is not coming tomorrow. But let us hope for a better tomorrow at some point in time. I want to thank you so much for coming here tonight. I want to thank you for the solidarity that you've shown with each other. I want to thank you for the interest that you've shown in your country. I want to thank you for the interest that you've shown in your fellow citizens. I want to thank you for the expression of love. Because it is love, ultimately, it must be love that brings you here. It must be love that takes you down to Fountainbell every Saturday. It must be love that takes you up Cheapside and Broad Street and takes you into a square called Independence Square. It must be love. Continue to love. Continue to love People's Parliament. Good night and God bless you.
Let's hear it for the leader of the opposition tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, you can do better than that. Let me hear it. Thank you. Well, just a couple of housekeeping things. Don't move, don't move. That's my evangelical voice. Don't move. Just a couple of things I wanted to inform you of. As you know, this show is capable of existing because of the donations of persons. There'll be a lady here at the front if any of you all wish to donate to assist with the expenses that we have incurred in terms of having even this roadside parliament and the one to come. Please just see this young lady at the front that's waving her hand in the white hat with the bag right here at the front, and you can feel free to assist. We want to remind you that there's some juices, some drinks over on my right, your left, that you can refresh yourself before you leave. And also we remind you this coming Saturday, King George V Memorial Park for the Health Festival, 9 to 6 o'clock. All right? It's been my joy to be sharing with you tonight. In my closing, I want to invite a young man. I want you to put your hands together and welcome Thierry Giddings to the microphone this evening to close our session.
Good night, loyal opposition. Not too soft. We wanted to hear me. Good night, loyal opposition. Now this stage feel real fiery. It hot. We have real top speakers tonight. I know some persons wanted me to speak, but the level of speakers we had here was tremendous. Give them a clap, please. We want to thank God for bringing us here today together as a family. And I want to thank Him for giving us these amazing individuals to educate and inspire us. I want to thank Caswell Franklin. And as they call their names, please give them a cheer. I want to thank Caswell Franklin, Lynette Eastman, Lynette Eastman, Keynote, Bongo Lights, John Knox, Rain Waters, and the Honorable Opposition Leader, Thorne. This will not be possible without the technical team, so let us give a little applause for them as well. And let us give an applause for our police service for doing work for the people and upholding democracy in this country. But most importantly, I want to thank you, the loyal opposition, for coming here and showing that we are not afraid and we will not stand down any day in this country, and we will stand together as a family. Thank you very much, everyone.
9:20.